Okay guys, hey, welcome to day 4. Yep, we still are plugging away. I appreciate you guys staying engaged the best that you can. And certainly if you have any questions or concerns or you need a little additional help, don't hesitate to text me or send me an email and I'll certainly get with you and help you out. Anyway, we're going to continue with our engine mechanical and today we're going to talk about mechanical timing. Now, what is mechanical timing? Mechanical timing is valve to piston timing. It's valve to piston timing. So we know that the valves and the pistons have to work closely together to get the engine to operate properly. Valves need to be open and closed at certain times, along with the exact location of where the piston is moving up and down. And so that's critical to the operation of the engine. If for some reason that mechanical timing is not exactly right, the engine will either run very poorly or most likely it won't run at all. So since we're talking about valve to piston timing, first off, what is it that controls the pistons? And the answer is the crankshaft. And so the crankshaft rotation is what moves the pistons up and down. Secondly, what controls the valves? And we've talked about this before, but the answer is the camshaft. So if the camshaft controls the valves and the crankshaft controls the pistons, then we have to tie those two components together. And we tie that together with a timing chain or a timing belt. And so that is what is going to control or maintain that mechanical timing for us. Now, timing chains and timing belts are located typically on the very front of the motor, and they are connected with a chain and some metal gearing. Or the other option is many engines use a timing belt to connect those two or to keep that mechanical timing in sync. Okay, and so let's just talk about the two different types real quick. One is the chain, we've talked about that, and we have metal gears. Now, anytime that we have metal components that are moving in an engine and they're moving rapidly and have lots of friction, we need to make sure that those components are lubricated. And so therefore, we lubricate the timing chain with the engine oil. So the timing chain on engines that are equipped with timing chains, we need to have some sort of a cover and a seal or gasket to maintain that a tight area so that the oil obviously does not leak out of the engine. Okay, and so the advantage to having a timing chain is that timing chains don't wear out. Certainly if they're lubricated on a regular basis with the regular maintenance of the engine, the timing chain will typically last the life of the motor. The drawback to timing chains in the olden days is that, one, they were a little bit noisy, and number two, they're more expensive to manufacture. Okay, and therefore, obviously, if the timing chain fails or it has problems, it takes more time to repair and replace those. Timing belts, on the other hand, are made out of rubber material, just like any other belt. They're designed a little bit different as far as their look and their functionality, and we'll cover that when we go out into the shop. The advantages to timing belts are that they're less expensive and they're quieter and they're easier to work on or service. The drawback to timing belts is that timing belts, because they're made out of rubber, they're more likely to wear out or fail on a regular basis. And so therefore, timing belts have regular service intervals or regular times or mileage in which that timing belt needs to be replaced to maintain its integrity. Now, why do you think that timing belts need to be serviced on a regular basis? Well, one, as I mentioned earlier, if the mechanical timing gets out of sync, Okay, if it's not, the valves and the pistons are not opening and closing at the exact right time, then the engine won't run. So number one, we need to make sure that we maintain the integrity so the timing, engine mechanical timing, stays intact and in sync like it's supposed to. The second reason is that if the timing belt breaks, the timing belt typically will break during normal engine operation or while the vehicle is traveling down the road in most cases. And so therefore, if the engine is spinning, rotating at, let's say 2000 RPM, then the momentum of the engine spinning keeps the crankshaft rotating even though the timing belt is broken. Now where we run into problems here is that if the camshaft stops rotating, at some point through the entire rotation of the camshaft, okay, one of the valves is going to be open. And if that valve stays open while the piston, in this case, this cylinder here, continues to rotate and comes up, it will make contact with the valve right here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it makes contact right there. And if the piston comes up and makes contact with the valve, it will damage the valve, it will bend it, and therefore we have internal engine damage that has occurred, and therefore the engine will have to be taken apart and those components repaired or replaced. And so therefore, timing belts pose an additional issue in that if they break, you can create some internal engine damage that will cause the engine to have pretty extensive repairs. So therefore, again, the belt needs to be serviced on a regular basis. So those are some things about the timing chain and the timing belt that we need to be aware of. Okay, so now that we've covered those things, I'm going to go out into the shop. We're going to do a quick little video. I've got a couple of motors, one that has a timing chain, and we'll talk a little bit about that, and one that has a timing belt, and then we will look at timing marks or the alignment to make sure that the engine mechanical timing stays in sync. Watch the next video. See you in a minute.